And welcome to Tearsheet Live on LinkedIn Live. I'm Zack Miller, Tearsheet's editor-in-chief, and joining me is Steve Naudé, head of Wise Platform, and we're going to be talking about Wise's new correspondent services that you launched alongside Swift. Welcome, Steve.
Hi, Zach. Thanks for having me today.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us. And just for our viewers out there seems to be a little bit of lag in the system, so please bear with us if you do encounter any freezing up. Just the joy of working online these days. So Steve, first, tell me a little bit about your role at Wise.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I'm managing director of Wise Platform. Yourself and the listeners today may be mostly familiar with Wise for our consumer apps and our products for small businesses, where we are building the best way to send, receive, spend, and manage your money around the world. And we provide these to over 16 million customers today. And that's kind of the core of where Wise has come from. In the last few years, though, we've started launching Wise Platform, which is the part of the business I look after. And that's taking all of this infrastructure that we've built to make those products and serve those 16 million customers and allow others, so banks, large enterprises, fintechs, to leverage that infrastructure so they can build their own products for their own customers in their own existing products, helping take all the experiences we've learned, the benefits of Wise, right to where those customers already are, to the tools they're using every day.
The B2B to C side of the business.
B2B to C, B2B to B, B2B to X, all the B2B to some things.
All the B2Bs. And is Wise for Banks part of that? Is that a subset of the Wise platform?
Yeah, we mostly target banks at this solution. It's an area where banks have historically struggled to build really awesome products for their customers here. Held back, whether it's by some of their legacy infrastructure, some of the services that are available on the market, and that's where we really want to help. Lots of customers join Wise because we can give them a better service than their bank. The whole aim of Wise Platform is to help the banks give that same, if not better, service to those customers from within their banking app.
And what has traditionally been the hurdle in terms of that? Sounds like a very straightforward proposition. I think most banks would admit, that they don't have, the top technology like Wise does in cross-border payments. But if you were speaking to a bank and integrating Wise there using the APIs, like what were some of the pushback? What was some of the feedback you'd get there?
Yeah, if you go to a bank, as we have been historically, and say, here's a fantastic API that lets you build a product. Some banks, it's changing fast, but some still struggle to support API-based integrations.
Okay.
Perhaps some of the legacy infrastructure they're using isn't yet set up to really plug in third parties. This is changing very fast, but that has historically been a bit of a blocker. But even if you can, it's a technical project, and it's competing against
all the other projects,
200, 300 projects that bank wants to do. And the thing you have to remember about most banks is they're inherently domestic. They're serving a primarily domestic use case. If you think about how you use, most people use their bank, it's for, a current account, loans, mortgages, credit cards. Cross-border, whether that's sending, receiving, or managing, is typically a secondary priority or a secondary feature. So you can have an amazing product, an amazing solution, but it's competing against some of this core fundamental improvements the bank wants to make to their core offering. So that's what we've been trying to change, as you mentioned, with the collaboration we started with Swift and some of the other products to help make this even easier for banks to get access to this technology.
Right. That was really what I was getting at, was understanding the sort of the tension there, or the friction in terms of being able to roll out these partnerships. Integrating with something that banks are already integrated with makes a lot of sense. So maybe you can tell us about what the Wise Correspondent Services is and what it would enable banks to do.
Yeah, I mean, what we've worked with banks on, this is large banks as well. The largest banks in Indonesia, Bank Mandiri, in South Korea, Shinhan Bank, as well as many of the world's largest neobanks, Monzo in the UK, N26 in Europe. we've been working to serve them for a while, but what we've really announced recently and are trying to move into is, as you say, I talk about as speaking the bank's own language. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We're already integrated into this network called Swift, which many listeners may be familiar with, which is the typical interbank messaging network for cross-border payments. And rather than saying to banks, you now need to come and speak our language, you need to integrate our API and talk to us in our language, we're saying we'll come and listen to your language. Just route these Swift messages to Wise instead of your existing correspondent, or maybe it's for a new currency you want to add Wise as a new correspondent. And we'll process those payments using our infrastructure. So you get the same speed, the same low cost, the same over 99% straight through processing rate, all those same benefits, but without the need for a major technical project. We call it going live is as easy as a configuration change.
Have you gotten some early feedback beyond those early customers you just described, speaking to traditional banks that have become aware of the integration into Swift?
Definitely. I mean, we announced this at Sibos, which is the Swift conference where all the banks around the world attend. So we got to speak to hundreds of banks that week and get real-time feedback, which was nice. So a lot of excitement, a lot of interest. Definitely moves a whole number of conversations forward quite fast, and we do have our first partner starting to go live with this now. Not yet announced. You'll be the first to know, Zack. But first partners coming through, and a very healthy list beyond that. Yeah. So definitely, people have seen this as very exciting and a very practical way to help them get access to these benefits at very rapid speed without this becoming a major project.
And is there a revenue model based in working with the Wise platform for traditional financial institutions?
Yeah, I mean, what we see ourselves is as infrastructure, right? So we will charge a fee for our infrastructure, as would any other correspondent, a fee for making those payments. Banks own that relationship with their
and then they
customers.
can charge whatever they want on their end.
Yeah, that's their revenue model for their customers to work out what strategy they're trying to proceed. So we just have pretty simple fee-based structure. Yeah.
Interesting. And can you tell us about some of the improvements you made through the Wise network? I know I am a Wise customer. I always say that whenever I interview you guys. So we use it for our small business at Tearsheet, but more and more we use it for payroll. We have employees around the world, and I'm noticing more and more of those payments are happening instantly. It's really wild because it's like, whoa, that used to take 3 or 4 days. At least
it's always mind-blowing when you click send and then your phone is buzzing for a payment on the other side of the world before your screen's even refreshed.
That feedback loop it feels so powerful,
Yeah, we're now at 60% of our payments across Wise globally are instant end to end. And when we say instant, we mean sent, processed, all financial crime checks run, sent and received and available to the beneficiary in less than 20 seconds. That's our bar for instant. So 20 seconds, 60% of payments are now instant, which, as you say, keeps getting more and more every quarter. A couple of quarters ago, it was near 50%. Now we're up to 60%. As we keep investing in our infrastructure, and as the infrastructure around the world keeps getting faster, this number is going up increasingly quickly as well.
So, I mean, one of the things that have been reporting at Tearsheet is obviously there's multiple new platform systems, whether it's real-time payments in the US, the competing systems there, networks, whether it's Swift, the new upgrades with Swift or whatever. It sounds like Wise platform at least positions yourself, as you described, Steve, as an infrastructure player. So it's not like you're not the channel per se. You sit on top of existing channels, right? Is that how you're describing it?
Yeah, and our aim is really optionality, right? So as you mentioned, there's lots of these new schemes around the world, whether it's new instant domestic payment schemes, it's the increasing usage of customers in parts of the world to use mobile wallets to manage their money more than bank accounts, the rise of things like payments to debit cards. What we want to do is be plugged into all of these pieces of infrastructure, right? And using the best possible rail for the problem we're trying to solve for that particular customer or payment. But have that access and give our partners, these banks, that optionality, right? If you have an amazing correspondent setup today that's working really well, it's super fast, super cheap, amazing, keep using it. But there's probably currencies you're not yet supporting. There's problems in your existing network where you're not getting the service or speed or price point that you want, or you don't have access to some of these new rails, whether that's certain instant schemes or mobile wallets or cards. And that's really the problem we're trying to solve, is say we're not going to replace everything, but we want to increase optionality on the network and via tools like Swift to help these banks offer their customers the best possible solution to the problem that they're trying to solve.
So going back to that question I asked you before, Steve, about the hurdles that some financial institutions might have, you've taken away the technical integration or the deep technical integration they'd have to go. But how have you gotten any feedback or seen anything that works in terms of? I can imagine I'm the product manager inside one of those banks, and I want to elevate and the importance of this project within that 200 project list that you were describing before. What works beyond taking away the technical lift? Is there anything else you've seen to be able to say, hey, this deserves to be, priority 10, 5, not 200?
Yeah, the most successful partnerships we do are where there's a very clear problem to solve, right?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it's very easy to kind of go into something with an idea that something could be better, but really articulating what is it we're trying to make better for customers, and how can we use this to do that. And we've got some really, really interesting examples here. So whether it's helping the likes of Deal with their global payroll, which is you mentioned an increasing use case, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is people, that contractors, freelancers that want to get paid immediately, right? I've done the work, I want to get my money now, not end of the month in some other payroll cycle in 5 days, right? So really kind of helping them say, your customer feedback is people want money quicker. They want money sooner. As soon as that project is done, I need to get paid. I don't want to get a monthly withdrawal or something that's going to take a week. And that customer feedback is really the driver of the project, right? And that, when you launch this and it goes live and you hear via the partner the feedback they get now, it's always really exciting to hear how excited that's made their customers, right? So it's really trying to find that specific problem to address, and then figure how we can use this infrastructure to solve that problem. And that's often what brings this right up the priority list, right? Is being able to articulate what this end state looks like and why this is going to help solve. But again, a lot of it is also streamlining. We've done this quite a lot now. We work with 80 banks around the world. And we've been able to really streamline things like the compliance due diligence we need to do on each other, right? We know what they're going to ask us. We know what we're going to ask them, and really making that as smooth a process as possible to go as quickly as possible, right? And having a track record of being able to do these implementations quickly really helps de-risk the project, shorten the timelines, and find a good space in that roadmap to execute on this.
It's interesting because your Wise has built, its core, its roots, its ethos is in B2C, and it's a different skill set to build a B2B platform, and both from technology point of view, but also like from a sales and distribution point of view. And it's like it's been interesting watching you guys like mature in that realm and be able to service some of these top guys. And I think that makes a lot of sense what you're saying. There has to be a problem to solve, otherwise, an integration for international payments could be relegated continuously, relegated to the bottom of that list. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. And it's where we're also in quite a fortunate position, as you mentioned, with that B2C or B2B background. We have a lot of learnings from serving these customers directly. So we work quite closely with our partners, not to just say, here's the infrastructure, go use it, but to bring as much of the learnings we've had, the learnings from serving these 16 million customers ourselves, right? We know the problems they face. We know in this flow, this is where you're going to hit a conversion problem, or where customers are going to be confused and be contacting your support teams, right? We've faced this. So our recommendation is to tweak this and change it like this. It's your flow, it's your experience. It's up to you what you do with it. But it's quite powerful as a partner, being able to bring those learnings through to help not just have some nice infrastructure, but use it in the way to build that best possible experience and really solve that problem. So it's really actually quite handy and interesting having that B2C, B2B background that lets us bring all of those insights through.
Right. We've actually seen quite a few European companies start with their bones and the technology in B2C and use the learnings there, maybe even having their own bank before they eventually sort of evolved into a technology platform. But it was very much the learnings of owning the actual financial institution underneath it enabled them to really understand what other financial institutions would be dealing with. One thing I want to ask you, and I spoke to a colleague of yours recently. We've been doing a lot of reporting on Gen Z and sort of the pull that they have on modern financial services. And it seems like, at least in the Tearsheet audience over the past year, I would call it an awakening. There's been an awakening. This is how slow the financial services industry moves around Gen Z and the potential that industry has, and how, and an understanding or self-awareness of how far away some banks are in terms of being able to service that demographic. Is that play a role here? You're seeing in financial institutions, are they looking for more modern tools to be able to offer to their customers that are used to using a Wise, in a customer standpoint?
Yeah, I think one of the trends that we've seen a lot of is the consumerization of lots of traditionally boring or business banking services, right? So whether it's Gen Z or millennials or whatever generation, but you have a set of individuals who have become used to a very different set of experiences in their personal lives, right? I say I can order a taxi and be halfway across the city from my phone in a few minutes, or have food in London delivered from anywhere in the world in just a few minutes, right? And that's the kind of experience that people have come to expect from their business tools as well, whether that's their bank or their payroll provider, their spend management platform, etc. So we've seen a lot of focus from these providers in that experience, right? An area that was probably less traditionally important in the past, that's driven by this just wave of incredible consumer product experiences being setting the bar for what a business tool, business experience looks like as well. And I think we see quite a lot of that, whether that's driven by a certain demographic or not. I'm not sure is so specific, but it's definitely been an awakening to the expectations customers have on payments that is driven by the services they get in their day-to-day life, right? The same speed, the same quality, the same ease of experience. People don't want to wait a week or have to contact and go into a branch and all of this stuff. It's not going to work anymore.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. We've had a lot of guests sitting in your seat, talk about Netflix and Amazon and the impact that has had on the consumer, and then a growing expectation that other firms and apps should, understand me as well as those apps do. I have another question for you in terms of, as you're thinking about extending Wise services out onto the platform, out into these financial institutions. Is it just the international payments, or are you also sharing or integrating some of the ancillary services that you guys have launched over the past couple of years? I'm just thinking like investing or whatever it may be. I could see them being maybe competitive or some friction there with the bank's own services, but is there intention to include more?
Yeah, our aim is that everything we build at Wise for ourselves should be available to our partners, right? That's kind of the whole purpose of the infrastructure strategy. So, we have worked with partners on other products, whether that's card issuing, receive flows, some of the collection products that we built for ourselves. There's definitely more we want to do there, more we are doing there. Some of our newer products, like the assets interest product, we still need to figure how to take to market via the platform. But the strategy is for everything we build to be available to partners, right? And we're building these things now internally with that partner first mindset that, a bit like the AWS approach of, if we build it for partners, we can use it ourselves, right? And this has been a really interesting shift to see in the company. We're really thinking, if we're going to do this, what actually could it be used for beyond just our own customers? And you see people suddenly thinking and getting into all sorts of interesting use cases that the Rails they're building could be used for. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely everything we do, we want to expose to partners as well.
And as you think out into 2024, we're almost there already. It's amazing how this year has flown by. It's wild. Still feels like 2022. What are some of your biggest priorities on the platform as a leader in terms of rolling this out? Well, in general, I should ask.
Yeah, look, the main thing we're focused on and excited about is this correspondent services product, right? Like we've seen the demand, we've heard the feedback, we've seen the level of interest and excitement around this, and most of our effort in 2024 is going to be really rolling out, scaling, and supporting this product for an increasingly large number of pretty major banks around the world. That's our next major focus area. So how do we make sure we can scale with these partners, give them that level of service and experience that them and their customers expect, and scale this globally around the world as we talk to banks in 20, 30 different countries, all looking for ultimately the same solution to the same problem, just with a different regional swing on things.
Steve, thanks for joining us on this Tearsheet Live.
Thank you so much for having. Thanks for your time. Nice to speak.